This is the final video of section 5 on developing the application. In this video we will be using metadata generated after fighting a match to show in the dashboard view. First, like we did with the other view, we're going to scaffold the controller and the view. Afterwards we'll slightly modify our arena service to add a bit of metadata to our application. And finally we'll be using that metadata to display in the dashboard view. Before we begin working on the dashboard, we're going to need a state for it first. Let's open up the app.js file so we can add a new state to it. Let's call the state dashboard and give it the root URL, so that's just a /. Add in the dashboard template, which we'll create in just a moment, along with its controller information. Just like in the arena view, we're going to use the controller as syntax. In this case, we'll call the controller dashboard. Now that we've got our state set up properly, let's create our controller and our partial. In the controllers directory, create a new controller called dashboard. I'm just going to scaffold it. Let's add it to the packed module. Create a new controller. Let's call it dashboard control like we did in the state. Inject the arena service as well. And then just set up the view model variable. And let's also create a dashboard partial in the partials directory. Let's add some additional functionality to our services for the dashboard metadata. So let's go ahead and add our first method. Let's call it getPlayedMatches. This function is just going to return our played matches we've stored so far. Next up, let's duplicate the played matches variable and call it favorite animals instead. Let's load the favorites from the storage and default to an empty object. It's going to be mapped to the animal's ID. Let's go ahead and copy our getPlayedMatches function. Let's call it getFavoriteAnimals instead. There we go. And just return the favorite animals like we did with the played matches. Now you might have noticed that we don't have any favorite animals data yet, so let's go ahead and fix that. Let's go to the bottom of the file where we fight the match and determine the winner. So first we're going to check if the favorite animal is stored in our favorite animals map yet. So it's based on the player animal and then the animal's ID. And if it's not there, we're just going to set it to 1 instead, because that means the favorite animal has been played for the first time. So again, just pass in the ID of the animal and set it to 1. Otherwise, if it does exist, we're just going to increment the count. Okay. And finally, let's also save our favorites in storage. So favorites and then favorite animals. So let's go ahead and open our dashboard controller again. And the first variable for the view is going to be played matches, which is just gotten through the arena service, and then get played matches. Okay. Now, as you remember, our data structure is a little different, so we're going to have to map it because it only has the ID. So we're going to inject the animals and terrain service, and then we're going to return a new object based on those IDs. So we're going to return an object with the player animal. Okay, so that's animals.find and then match.player. Remember, it only stored the ID, so we're using the find functions here to get the full information. Do the same thing for the opponent and then also for the terrain, but take care to use the terrain service for that. And then the winner is just the match winner. Alright. Let's also add the favorite animals to our view. So vm.favoriteAnimals is arena.getFavoriteAnimals. And remember, that's also just an object with the ID and the count, so we're going to have to do some trickery to get it to display properly in the view. So we're just going to inject the animal service inside the view as well. Let's open up our dashboard. Create a new header called previously played matches. And then we'll just open up a list. And then repeat over the matches. So dashboard.played matches. Alright. And then we'll just say the player's animal name versus the opponent's animal name. Let's just copy this. Alright. And then finally show the winner. Let's open up our index and also take care to inject the controller we just created, so the dashboard controller. Let's go ahead and open our application. Alright, it does what it should. It shows us a list of previously played matches. Let's go back to our dashboard view and then add a new title called Favorite Animals. We're just going to open up a list again. This time we're going to loop over an object, so we're going to use the animals key and the count value in the dashboard.favoriteAnimals. And since we only have the animals ID here too, we're just going to use the animal service, so dashboard.animals.find, and then the animal, which is the animal ID, and then pass in its name, and I will just show the count. Let's open up our app again, and there we go, favorite animals. It shows us which animals we've played the most. Okay, that's it. We now have a basic dashboard that shows our previous activity in the application. Now that we've successfully completed our application, we can start finishing our build system and deploying it to Heroku.